Hey guys, alright, you would have had the intro by now, but alright, so this, I'm going to build this particular baseboard. Those of you who know me, I like trying new things and trying new techniques. So, the existing part of the layout, Gracefield short line or Gracefield branch, is very heavy. Because I had a lot of track, I would never build that baseboard the way I did. I don't know why I did it that way back well over a year ago. I'm going back to more using pine strip, is what's fairly cheap here in New Zealand, with a ply top. Now I'm going to try, normally I use 12mm ply, I always have with my O gauge stuff, and there's a lot more weight, but I want strong and I want it to be a bit lighter without it risk of warping. So that will mean that whether or not it's lighter in the long run, I'm going to use a piece of 7mm ply, which was given to me. In fact, all this pine strip I got from my dad, so it's not going to cost me anything really just to build this part 2 piece onto the layout. Down the track I may rebuild the main section in the same way, so it's lighter and easier to move and still remains a portable layout. I should be able to get all the structures and that off. The issue is when you've got a lot of points, sometimes the points don't survive the removal. Anyway, we're not going to go there at the moment. That section is quite long, probably would struggle to fit in my car, but there are other ways of transporting it, so it will stay as it is for the foreseeable future. Runs really well, so as you might have seen in some of the videos. Alright, so I've got a tripod now, but I am waiting on an attachment to mount my phone. I am eyeballing, hopefully this year I will get myself a decent SLR camera that I can improve the quality of my videos and then mount that on the tripod. So alright, so when I edit I will superimpose a basic plan of this, and it's slightly L-shaped because when I have more space and I want to have an L-shaped layout down one side of a room, this will have a curved section of track that runs to the edge that can go to another 30 centimeter section and run along the wall. Now, yeah, we can, this layout will either run HO or some 00 UK stuff, so keep you UK modelers really happy. But it's still going to remain basically a 30 centimeter shelf layout, but obviously stepping down to 1:87 or 1:76, you still fit a lot more in that footprint. And it's amazing what you can, even in O gauge, you can put a couple of tracks in there quite easily. So I've cut a bunch of braces here. Seeing as I'm holding the phone, I will pause and I will just lay out the frame and we'll come back. Alright, we're back. Nothing's glued or screwed, but this is essentially what I'm trying to achieve. So it's kind of using the ladder what am I trying to say? Yeah, the ladder style. So basically you strips down the outside and then you've got your braces in the middle. So we're just using pine like this. I think it's about 70mm by 20mm. and obviously because it's going to be an L shape, we need to allow, see if I get my finger in shot. Alright, there's going to be a curved piece of track that runs sort of down there. Now, in order to make a nice easy curve that's not too tight, for longer locos and rolling stock, we can't just, what am I trying to do, keep it in shot there, Burn? Alright, can't just sort of do that. There'll probably actually be, I've got to cut another piece for strength wise, because it's only going to have 7mm ply on top. We'll cut a piece that goes from here up to there, nice and square, and then I will put an angle piece sort of going across at that angle there, and just put that into place, so that way the track needs to sort of cut across there in order to keep a nice curve. I'm just waiting on some links of Pico Flexi Track to turn up, so before I actually finish that section there, we will I will just sort of see what space I need for that curve. Alright guys, welcome back to this this edition of the video. Alright, the baseboard is basically done. Strong, lightweight. First time I've actually built a full framed baseboard, and I'd always been a bit worried about using 7mm ply for warping and not being strong enough, but I've seen some other modelers that use it, so I think this could be the go for the future. So we'll just pan up there. That's the HO/00 layout there. It's really heavy, and it's actually a bit on the long side to actually get in my car, so probably in about a month or so's time I'm going to work on this module here, which we'll tack on the end of it initially, but I'm going to probably rebuild that layout, take everything off, save as much as I can apart from scatters and ballast, and actually rebuild it with an identical matching baseboard that'll knock onto this and keep to that sort of 32mm wide footprint. Hi guys, welcome back to the video. Alright, about a week's elapsed since the last section here, so you can see that I'll show you in a sec. I've laid track and I've wired it, sorry, it's lying on the side, just tilt it over. So I've added one point there. Probably not going to scenical ballast it, because I'm thinking putting another point about there and having another track go back there, possibly even another point in there, so I can have a loco shed, some stabling for locomotives. But yeah, still thinking on that at the moment. But nice long spur or siding, and this is the main line on the short line. Or for the English or Kiwi audience, it'd be the equivalent of short lines, like a branch line. So this goes to the end of the board, where a third section can be attached at some point. Alright, so I've decided to use the concrete sleeper track. It was actually cheaper, that's Pico, code 100, and it was actually cheaper than the wooden sleeper. Alright, so it's probably the best neatest wiring I've done on any module I've ever built, which is quite cool. So I've used a heavier gauge for like the main bus, which I can then tap off if I need to for lighting. I don't tend to use a separate lighting bus for my layouts. They're not sort of big enough or complicated enough. And because it's going to sit on top of my desk, my modelling bench, I've added these pine strip legs, and it just got a slight lip there which lines up with the existing module. Alright guys, so the next thing I'm doing is going to glue on a nice fascia so there'll be no screws showing. So that's the first piece I've cut there, and there'll be a slight lip, I think, to sort of help protect the edge of the layout and the scenery. So alright, we'll come back when that's done and I'll show you it installed.
A job is waiting for you.